Welcome back to Las Vegas. It's Alex Belfield back on the Strip at the Paris Casino. At one of my favourite shows, Anthony Cools is the man that gets the best out of the general public. How are you?
I'm good. I'm one of your favourite shows?
Yeah, it's cool because it's fun and it's dangerous and it's risky. And this is Sin City, and you put the sin back in Sin City, don't you?
Great, but how many shows do you otherwise say that to?
All of them.
That's what I thought. Well, I think that Vegas is sort of trying to crawl itself out of a hole right now. So if there's an empty closet, the casinos are saying, hey, we should put some shows in there, you know? And unfortunately, it is what it is.
Show business is not as easy as it looks, is it? To get the public in front of you and to put on a show that is entertaining is difficult. You then make your life even more difficult because your show relies on audience participation and them wanting to have as much fun as you want them to have.
Absolutely. People don't understand that Vegas entertainers stopped getting paid in the mid-90s. And I'm dead serious about that. Now everybody rents the space and they produce their own shows. They pay for their own advertising, which is ridiculously expensive. And it is a challenge. It really is. And then to get enough people into a room to get a certain percentage up on stage to make them, hey, I'm going to make you fuck a chair. I'm sorry, but, you know, like, come on up here and do it. So it can be challenging. Absolutely.
And I love the fact that you get some coy people who just don't know what you are. They think you're some sort of Cirque du Soleil without the banner, and they come in here and they're shocked. But it's turning them round, isn't it? That's your job, really.
You know what I think is funny is when people don't know that I'm an actual hypnotist, and they come in here, and especially people that don't speak the language, they're just watching me move my lips up on stage for an hour and a half, and they're like, you know, waiting for me to pull a rabbit out of a hat or something like that, and it doesn't happen. You're like, listen, you need to pull your thumb out of your ears and pull your eye sockets open and say, listen, this is what the show is. So.
There aren't many people doing it anymore. In Britain, it has virtually died, partly because the government have made it so impossible to put it on stage. And because of the law in England, it's so easy to sue. How do you get around that? How do you keep your lawyers happy that you aren't going to end up with some writ that's going to bankrupt you?
That's a funny question, because I was actually quoted in a law book called The Law and Magic. And I've come up with a very simple solution. At the end of my show, I tell people they have absolutely no remorse about what they've done under the state of hypnosis. So if they're coming back after me saying, hey, you made me do all these things, I'm like, well, yes, because, okay, first of all, you got your waivers, and then second of all, I'd say, were you hypnotized? Well, yes, I was hypnotized. Well, then you should have no remorse, right? And if you weren't hypnotized, then you were just doing it of your own accord. So, you know, it's a lose-lose situation.
And I spoke to Paul McKenna over the years, and he claims that you can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do. You couldn't make somebody murder someone because your subconscious would click in at some point.
I have a hard time commenting on that because I've never pushed anybody that hard to find out. I can't do it.
No, but I mean, I wouldn't ordinarily shag a chair, but in your show, if you put me under the right conditions, it's possible I could do it. What I'm saying is you can take people to extremes, but there's got to be a point in which you can snap out of it, or do you think that is not the case? Well,
nobody actually, to quote you, shags a chair. They're making a motion like they're shagging a chair. Their clothing is on. Nothing's entering any orifices. You know, if you watch the show...
I think you said fucking a chair earlier. What's the difference?
Well, I like the word shag. I just like that word. Shag is great. So... But if you watch the show with the sound off and your imagination can't work, it's boring.
Right.
It's only when your imagination kicks in and then you say, holy moly, that guy's shagging a chair.
Do you still love it, and do you still have fun with it? I mean, I've seen the energy that you bring to this show, and that is what is infectious. If you're on an off night, I'm sure the show's horrible because you are it, aren't you? If you're not working to 100%, it ain't going to work.
I'm never off. I'm always on my game, so you can't come to see a bad show. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Deal with it.
How do you like Vegas? How's it doing? I mean, you live a normal life off the Strip. I follow you on Facebook and see the shenanigans that you get up to. Is it still cool to be here? I mean, for what you do, I can't imagine any other place in the world could have the energy that Vegas does to allow you to do this show.
I was interviewed back in 1994, and people asked me what the final goal was, and I said to get to Vegas. And that was because my audience comes to me. I get to go home every night. Right. And before this theater's empty, I'm normally in my vehicle and on the interstate halfway home. And do I love it? It can be challenging at times to be living in the hustle and bustle of the Strip. But, you know, you get 15 minutes off the Strip. It's a great place to live, great people, you know, and I really enjoy living here.
I always say about show business, it's anybody can get a show anywhere, anybody can get a #1. Can you get a #1 twice? Can you keep the show? And I think you've been here as long as I can remember I've been here, which is years and years and years. What is your secret to success? Because many fail, don't they, in this town? And good acts as well. It's not necessarily that they're rubbish.
Well, absolutely. I think one of the reasons why I'm still around is I have very little overhead because the show is real. I don't have to pay a cast and crew of 20 people and a union crew of 75 back to work backstage. I own my own print shop. I own my own advertising company, so I keep everything all in-house, and all of my costs are down. So, my break even is like, 16 tickets. If you can't sell 16 tickets in this town, you shouldn't be in this town, I'm very pleased to say that a couple years ago, I became the longest running hypnosis show in Las Vegas history. And I just signed for 5 more. So I'll be here until 2017, and it's a feather in my cap, something I'm very proud of.
And it's a good place to be right now. They've just brought in Jersey Boys into Paris, which can't hurt because it all feeds each other. You've got the amazing Eiffel Tower restaurant just above you. Gordon Ramsay's just opened next door. Has he been in and insulted you yet, or told you to F off? Or
no, not at all. I've been to his restaurant, told him to F off, though.
You've tasted his food.
It's actually really good food. The service is probably the best in the world. It really is. It's amazing.
He knows what he's doing, doesn't he? And I think what it is, in any field you're in, you've got to master your craft, and you certainly have. A question I would love to ask you, that I'm sure the answer is no. Is there anything could happen in this show that could floor you, that could stop you, that could make you, render you speechless?
They've already happened. When a woman, a 70-year-old woman, goes to give a chair a blowjob and removes her teeth and puts them on the stage, I just stay there with my jaw down to my knees going...
That didn't happen, did it, Anthony?
That's happened twice. It's happened twice. 2 different women, 2 different scenarios where they're gumming the chair. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way. I had a guy remove his false leg and stump hump the chair. I mean... people peeing their pants, and everything's happened. It's already happened. Nothing stumps me anymore. 18 years now, nothing stumps me anymore. But that's because it's already happened.
Right.
Yes.
And what a thrill that they're brave enough to put this show on. I love the fact that Absinthe Across the Street, which is again a risky show where they do the race stuff and they do the culture stuff. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. That's the attitude, is it?
You're told that at the beginning of the show. Before I even walk up on stage, you're told the show contains all these words and this is going to happen. If you don't like it, get the fuck out. It's very black and white. There's not a lot of gray area involved, unless of course you don't speak English, and then you're not going to get offended anyway, right? So
I want to talk to you about your life because it's extraordinary. I saw a picture the other day of you driving in this amazing car, I think into CES, and you had a few problems with that because the gap wasn't big enough and all that. It's a bit like my sex life. It reminds me of my last girlfriend. Anyway, that's another story. You've got a really showbiz life, haven't you?
I've been told that I have. Yes, I've been told that. I don't live the traditional life that a lot of people live. I don't worry about things that people worry about.
When did people start getting embarrassed of admitting that life can be showbiz and you can have fun? It seems like stars now don't like to let us know that they're having fun.
Well, I think that the more secretive you become of your personal life, the more people will pry into it. If you just put it all out there, then you got nothing to worry about at the end of the day.
Right. And what amazes me more than anything about this town is that you guys are shrewd businessmen, and you have to be to survive. As you said earlier, you own the show, you own the space, you basically live or die by it. When did you become the businessman? Is this something you've had for years, or is this something you've had to learn in this town?
This town is a very different breed, and I was fortunate enough in 2003 to actually get paid for my show, which is a very rare thing. It just didn't happen anymore, and I had 2 years of that luxury at the Stardust, and while I was here in that 2-year period, I learned how Vegas worked. I didn't come here, naive to how things work. That you have to understand you have to pay commissions to brokers, that you have to pay X amount of advertising dollars out there, and I learned it in 2 years. So when it came time to do my own show, I put it all on the line. I emptied my bank account and said, okay, I'm ready to do this. And I did, and I got lucky.
The other thing that amazes me that I want to talk to you about is the fact that people really do take reviews and things seriously in this town. I had a call from a major star this week who was very upset that I said somebody else's show was better. What is it like between you guys? It seems like there's a camaraderie that's incredibly false.
Absolutely. You know what? When one of the other hypnosis shows closed in 2006, they were playing the Bourbon Street Casino, and it went literally, it tipped over, and they had to close down the show. I reached out to my contacts to get that show reopened up again for them. And I'm a firm believer in lifting myself up by lifting up my friends around me and lifting up my competitors, and that way nobody has a bad word to say about me. I believe that karma is very much out there, and that show continued on until just last year. And I just don't like knocking anybody else down. I don't care about looking behind me or beside me. I'm always looking forward. What can I do to make myself better, not how I can make that other guy look worse.
This is a brutal town where you're competing with amazing talent. I mean, let's face it, you've got Selena across the strip. It's finding your niche, isn't it? That's what you've got to do. And you have. There isn't another show doing this center strip, is there?
No, there isn't. And the other Hypnosis shows are actually playing in shopping malls and lobbies and wherever they can play. I'm very fortunate, very lucky to have the people at Caesars Entertainment behind me. I've got a great team that pushed me, and I just can't be more grateful. I got lucky. I really did.
I don't know about luck. I think you deserve every second of it. And of course, your showgirls, we just saw one of them poke their head around the corner there. I mean, you've got a very glamorous backstage, haven't you?
Yes, I do. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm surrounded myself with beautiful women, all times, and I'm still single. Go figure that out.
All right, okay, there you go. This is a town to be single. In terms of where you go next, you're here for 3 more years, is that right? Did you say?
I'm here till 2017.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, a long time.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? There's no other place in the world where they'd offer you a contract that long. It just doesn't work like that, does it?
Well, I told them I wanted it that long. They said, well, we want to offer you 2. I'm like, no, I'll take 10. So, we settled on 5.
Well, I think it's fantastic that you've got this show and you're able to create a life, because show business can be tough, can't it, when you're going from town to town to town, and you don't want to be that 80-year-old guy who's sort of having a heart attack and really not got where he wants to get, which is here with his own stage, his name above the strip. As you come down, you can't miss. You're all over the place.
Well, thank you very much. I worked hard to get my name all over the place. I really did. And I don't think that I could go back to touring at this point in time. I go out 5 to 10 times a year, play other casinos, other places, but other than that, I could not even imagine not going home at the end of the night.
Well, listen, if you want to see a 70-year-old lady with no teeth and do things to a chair that you couldn't imagine, this is the show for you. Anthony calls us on here at Paris. It's always nice to see you. Good luck, and thanks for talking to me.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to see your smiling face. It really is, and I thank you so much for the nice words.